Hey guys, this one is a quickie, and on this one I'm going to talk about the Dell Inspiron 7000, a laptop that has a couple of design flaws. I bought this laptop in 2018 and it worked fine for quite some time, and to be honest, it's perfect for work, but work is not all I do. For a 14-inch portable, the specs on it are not bad at all. It has an i5 8250U, 8 gigs of RAM, and a Geforce MX150 with 4 gigs of GDDR5. Since I got it, I have upgraded the RAM to 16 gigs and I have installed an NVMe SSD for the Windows 10 installation. So that's all good, but still the best thing about this laptop is the screen on it. It has lively colors and good DPI with a 14-inch IPS screen, and that sounds great. So why am I making this video? Well, it turns out this laptop has terrible thermals. When you play games, it has this terrible stutter that I have been trying to get rid of since I bought the laptop. So I realized there are two things I can do to stop the terrible stutter during the games. The first thing is removing the power brick from it, and that's not really sustainable because when you're playing a game without the power cord, you know how long laptop batteries last, basically nothing. And another thing I found out that fixes this issue is disabling Intel SpeedStep technology in the BIOS. Now with Intel SpeedStep disabled, the stuttering does stop, but the laptop quickly reaches 9 degrees Celsius on the CPU and on the GPU. And one thing to note on this laptop is that the cooling solution, it has one heat pipe that connects the GPU to the CPU, so their temperature usually are pretty similar. So the laptop quickly reaches 90 degrees Celsius, and a bit after that it starts thermal throttling. I don't really ever let it do that because I don't want to damage the thing. So today we're going to try to boost the cooling solution on it, and for that we're going to need some quality thermal compound and a couple of pieces of sandpaper. A good thing about this laptop is that it's fairly rigid with its unibody shell, so it's pretty easy to unscrew and remove the bottom part of it. Now we are unplugging the single fan this laptop uses to cool the CPU and the GPU, and they are connected by a heat pipe. Yeah, that's all the cooling this laptop uses for a pretty powerful system. So to boost this cooling solution, we're going to do a little bit of a lap job both on the block for the CPU and the GPU and try to make it as smooth as we can to increase that contact from the die to the blocks for the cooling system. And to do that, we're going to use two types of sandpaper. So the idea here is that you first use the rougher one and then you go to a finer one, and if you want you can keep going finer and finer until the surface of the blocks get completely reflective. But after a while it's just diminishing returns, so we're just going to use the 600, which is the rougher sandpaper, and then we're going down to the 1200, and that's all we're going to use because after that it doesn't really help a lot. So what you want to do is clean it all. I used a little bit of alcohol. After you clean it, you start sanding it in circle motions. Now you don't want to do this a lot because you don't want to run through the surface in a way that it stops making contact to the die. So it's a really superficial job just to get it as straight and smooth as we can. So you want to start with the 600 sandpaper with round motions, and then you go to the 1200 sandpaper doing the same thing. After you do that, just clean as best as you can. And now we're going to be ready to apply some thermal compounds and put everything together and test the laptop and see if we actually did anything that helped. And now for the results. To try to measure the results, I ran the Valley benchmark, and the goal here is 90 degrees Celsius on the GPU. So as soon as it hits 90 degrees Celsius, we're going to set a mark. Before we did anything, the laptop was able to run the Valley benchmark for 1 minute and 13 seconds. You can see the processor was hitting 90 degrees Celsius before the GPU. After the lap job and repaste, we ran the Valley benchmark again, and the GPU hit the 90 degrees mark at 2 minutes and 5 seconds. That's a very significant improvement, but that does not resolve our overheating issue, and I have one more thing to try. So most laptops come with a mesh over the ventilation grills, and I want to see if removing that helps. So the mesh is just glued on the back panel, and to my surprise I could have even reused it if I decided that removing it didn't help. Now for the final test, with the repaste, lap job, and without the mesh. We managed to delay the inevitable a bit more. Now the GPU hits 90 degrees Celsius in 3 minutes and 4 seconds in, but only briefly, never going over that, and the CPU, well, the CPU never hit 90 degrees. Instead, after a while running at turbo boost, it decides to drop to very low frequencies, and I think that's because it reaches the 65 watt power bricks limit, and that renders the thing useless. So, although we managed to mostly address the issue here, the design flaws in this laptop are unaddressable. And I can only hope that Dell learned with this and doesn't pull crap like that again, because this would be a great laptop with good gaming capabilities if it could actually support its own components. We're gonna end this video on that note, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll see you next time.